everybody. This is Jody Lester, or JL, and you are on Elevated Living at elevateme.org. And this is the Daily Lift. We're pushing through February 2011, discussing relationships. And today, our topic is relationship killers. Yeah, I said relationship killers. No, not people who come into your life or your home or your job and try to commit homicide, but the internal, emotional, or behavioral, or sometimes what we think is intellectual ideologies that can harm and destroy our relationships. So, we're going to talk about three main tenets. Let's start with probably the number one harmer, and that would be dishonesty. Now, we've discussed integrity and we've discussed being authentic. I talk about this in many of the blog videos. I discuss how it's important to have integrity in business and how all of the top gurus in self-development teach that. How anytime you're dealing with business or occupation or friendship, any relationships, you want integrity. You want people to be standing by their word. Integrity is important, and we like to toss around the words integrity and authenticity. They sound great. They're $20 words. They're great when we're doing presentations. They're great in trainings and education. They sound wonderful on paper and proposals. But most of us have a very difficult time living up to those definitions. Do we really think about what it really means to have integrity? It's not something you can just say and then it's so. But you have to live a life that's integral, a life where if it were to end up on the front page of the newspaper or on the evening news or on the top banner of YouTube or Facebook, that you'd be proud of it. That's integrity. Being able to live transparent and say, I'm a woman or I'm a man of my word, and if I, for whatever reason, can't fulfill my words or my promises, I will do my best to take responsibility for that falling or that failing and make amends. 100% integrity is near perfect, and I don't think any of us are there. Some people might be. Well, bravo for you. But I think it's important that when we say integrity, we mean it and we strive for it and we admit with humility when we're not there. And it's very difficult for people to really be integral when it comes to romantic relationships. And that goes along with the authenticity. And we've discussed that. Because when we're not authentic, we're just flat out lying. And that's the other part of dishonesty. Not only just lacking integrity or being ingenuine, but just not telling the truth. A lot of us have a hard time with being really honest and being clear about what we want and what our intentions are. That's part of the honesty that a lot of us fail to give in romantic relationships. And it's the very thing that can just tear it apart. I think we kind of know that. Most of us usually end our relationship because there were so many dishonesties, so much lying, just hidden truths that we've uncovered later, and it's done so much damage that we just walk away. Now, let's talk about another relationship killer. And one of the relationship killers is being selfish. I think people would think that's a top one as well, because we've all been there. At least I'm authentic enough to admit that I have been selfish in relationships, thinking more about what I wanted instead of what other person wanted. Being inflexible, not willing to bend, not willing to compromise when I should, and compromising when I shouldn't. Just being selfish, doing what was best only for me or right only for me. not being able to step outside myself, look at the situation a little bit more objectively, and try to really feel where the other person was coming from. Those things can destroy a relationship. Engaging in behavior that, if the shoe was on the other foot, we would not stand for, but are so willing to dish it out. Why? Because we want what we want when we want it, and not so concerned about who we hurt just to satisfy our desires. We have to be careful with being selfish. It's just as destructive as lying, and often it goes hand in hand, because generally, when you're not being honest, it's because you're being selfish and you want something and you don't care what you have to do to get it. Then there's insecurity. And there's so many of us who have an issue with being insecure, with not having enough value and self-worth to be trusting in our relationships. It can be very detrimental because it can lead you into a relationship with a person that you don't trust, which kind of dooms it from the start. And you'll find you'll have this pattern of being with people who constantly disappoint you. But it's our insecurities that are leading us to these individuals. Insecurity is a huge relationship killer. It makes us suspicious. It makes individuals go through people's private papers and telephones and needs to have everyone's passwords. And are you kidding? I can barely keep up with my own stuff. I can't imagine keeping up with somebody else's life that seriously. How is it that you're taking care of your business if you're so attentive to the business of someone else? And not so that you can help them or assist them, because you're constantly looking for a reason to either let them go, be angry, or looking for somebody who they're posturing to replace you. Well, there's a saying that what you seek, you shall find. It's important that when we go on these scavenger hunts, that we're the ones who take total responsibility for the treasures or terrors that we uncover. We have to be careful about what we're looking for. Often our insecurities push people to infidelity and into the arms of someone else because we were not confident enough in who we were as people to be authentic enough to allow them to just love us for who we are, and to trust that in growing in that relationship, that that'll be enough. So watch out, my family, for the lying and the selfishness and the insecurities. It's the best way to murder your relationships. Not once, but over and over and over again. This is Jody Lester, or JL, and you're on Elevated Living at elevateme.org. And until we next connect, don't kill your relationships, but also strive to live the very best of life. Ciao.